Hi, and welcome to the show Podium, and we're on session 044. And for the next few weeks, we're going to be joined by the lovely Rudiger Kennard. And Rudi, while training as a track and field athlete, attained a sports science honours degree and went on to become a personal trainer and fitness coach. It was around this time that Rudi appeared as a contestant on the TV show Gladiators, which led him to study many mental performance strategies like NLP, clinical hypnosis, and mindfulness. 14 years ago, Rudi came across an understanding of the nature of experience termed the three principles, and has since then given training in over a dozen countries, spoken at international conferences, on the radio, and served many populations from corporate executives to school children and jail inmates. And so I'm delighted to have Rudi with us. And I did a recording with him, so we will pop straight over to that. But if you want to get in touch with Rudi, you can do so via his website on www.innatewellbeing.co.uk. In this first part of the interview, I asked Rudi to tell us just a little bit about his sporting background.
I was obsessed with athletics, track and field athletics, multi-events. My favourite events were javelin and high jump. It is quite unusual because I could clear 2 meters in the high jump, which is, I'm 6'1", it's way above my head. Well, not way above, but quite far above my head. And I could throw the javelin about 55 meters. So these completely different disciplines, I seem to be quite good at lots of them. But I trained as a national athlete, sort of competed all over the place, but I was kind of riddled with various injuries that stopped me getting so far. So I've always been a very keen athlete, and now I still do a lot of exercise and sport and circuits and CrossFit. Yes, I'm a bit of a maniac in that.
Brilliant. Oh, that's great. That's great. And how did you become a contestant on the Gladiators? Because that's no mean feat, right? That's an amazing achievement. So how did that come about?
Yeah, well, I guess loads of people just said, you should go on Gladiators, because when I was a lad, this is going back a while, where it was on the BBC, it was such a popular show, Gladiators and Blind Date, I think, was on at the same evening. And so people just kept saying, do it. And then I think I just thought, well, I'm studying sports science. I've got a bit of free time. There's nothing left to lose. So I applied to go on the show. And like 23,000 people at the time applied to go on the show. And there's only 12 men and 12 women who actually get through to actually appear on the show. But luckily, I was in a really good physical shape. So I enjoyed every minute of it.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great, actually. And what was your gladiator name?
Spider-Man. Because I was really good at. I did a lot of rock climbing at the time, so I was really good at anything to do with climbing up stuff.
Brilliant. There you are. It's out. So people now will be Googling Spider-Man Gladiators all those years ago and getting a little bit of a sneaky preview as to your former life, Rudi. Let's start with the question of why do you think sports people would benefit from looking in this direction of understanding how the mind works to create human experience?
Well, anyone listening or watching this will know this to be sure, that sport and performance is a real mind game. Obviously, we need the physiological powers and the skills and the techniques and the potential. But if we haven't got a mind behind our body, so to speak, we very, very much underperform. And that was my problem. I could do exceptionally well in training, but put me in front of a big crowd of screaming people, I generally underperformed. And again, with Gladiators, I was favourite to win the whole series, and I got knocked out in the first round because I was underperforming. So physically, I had the skills, the strength, the stamina to go much further, but my mental stamina wasn't in par with my physical stamina. So being an athlete, the mental game is an enormous resource of achievement and competitiveness and success. And it's one of those resources that up until recently has been very much misunderstood to the degree that it can be quite debilitating to one's performance. And so the reason I got interested was after Gladiators, because I got knocked out in the first round, I was so upset because I really thought I'd go the whole way. Now, the silver lining on that was that, oh, well, I really need to look at my head. What is going on in my head? Why can't I perform as well on the day as I can in training? And so I then looked at various mind technologies. But to cut a long story short, about 13 or 14 years ago, I came across an understanding termed the three principles. But it's fundamentally understanding the nature of human experience and understanding the nature of experience itself. And what that allowed me to do was allowed me to perform, whether that's on the track, whether that's solution orientated thing, whether that's, with friends, whatever walk of life, but be able to perform and show up with a much greater sense of, I guess you'd call it the flow or the zone. If I was to put a label on it, there was more of a sense of flow, not just on the field, on the track, but in my life in general. Because as a lot of athletes know, your personal life can sometimes have an effect on your sport life. If you're worried, if you're upset, if you've broken up with someone, if there's various things going on in your life, it can definitely have an effect on your mental clarity when you're performing. So to be able to have a balance in my life and to be able to naturally access more of a flow state of mind in the moment or often was enormously helpful.
That's beautiful, Rudi. You've said about what you were like before, but what about now, like having seen more in terms of the understanding of how it is the mind works to create experience? What impact in real terms has that had on your sporting performance or performances generally?
Well, I guess the biggest thing, Denise, it's a lovely question, is much more of a sense of unconditionality. And what I mean by that practically is that if you think, okay, when I say the word performance, that can go across sporting performance and just performance in life, performance in relationships, like the whole thing here. So when I say that, it's very broad when I'm talking about performance now. So what I used to think is that my performance was very much tied to my state of mind, meaning that when my state of mind was high, my performance was better. When my state of mind was low, my performance was worse. Well, that's kind of common sense logic, and a lot of people would say this to be true. But the reason I use the word unconditionality is I found that I could perform much more effectively regardless of where my state of mind was. Now, this was really interesting to me because I'd held that belief that if you're a high state of mind, you perform well. If you're a low state of mind, you perform badly. I held that as such a belief that it became a conviction. I didn't even question that assumption. But that's what it is. It's an assumption. And so bear with me while I try to unpack what I've just said. So when I use the word unconditionality again, your mind is unconditional in that you have the potential to perform regardless of what's going on in your head. Now, if we could choose to have a clear state of mind and be in the flow state of mind at will, of course, we would choose to do that. But quite often, we don't. Our state of mind goes up and down. Sometimes we feel very much in the zone. Other times we just don't. Now, the trouble isn't that we're not in the zone. Okay? The issue comes when we think because we're not in the zone, that's going to adversely affect our performance. because left alone, our mind just works regardless of what state of mind they're in. And we can't choose our state of mind. Now, that's a big statement. But has anyone ever been really angry before? And then someone said to them, just calm down. And you go, oh, okay, then. And you just calm down. Well, you're more likely to go, well, no, it can wake you up. Have you ever been really sad and someone has just said, oh, just snap out of it, be positive. And oh, yeah, sorry. And all of a sudden you're positive. Well, the mind doesn't work like that. Again, we can, I studied mind technologies for a decade and I used to teach mind technologies. So what we can do, if your state of mind is in a state that is unproductive or undesirable, what the general paradigm is to try and do something about it, to be aware, or to stop thinking that, or not to think this, or reframe it. But what happens is what you're doing, you're in a lower quality thought space, okay? And then you throw more thinking, which is trying to outthink yourself, to that thinking. And then you get a whole bunch more thinking. Now, the flow state is characterized as just having very little on your mind. So if that is the case, why would you add more thinking to the original thinking if the idea is to have less thinking? And so what I've been finding out more and more, Denise, is that when my state of mind, and when all of our state of mind, which is completely human and natural, go up and down, there's this I can't be botheredness with doing anything to it, because I know our minds work perfectly left alone. But because we think we need to do something to our state of mind, it's a bit like throwing a spanner in the works. It's a bit like if you've ever been upset at some stage you weren't. If you've ever been angry at some stage you got over the anger. Like, you're not doing that. The system, this psychological immune system, is doing it for us. If we cut ourselves, we heal. It's obvious. Our immune system does it automatically. That's really observable. But what isn't so observable is that our minds work the same way. We have a psychological immune system that left alone works perfectly and rightens itself. So in a sense, I've gone from trying to implement things to my mind to understanding the nature of my mind, and insightfully realizing the nature of our minds leads to a more unconditional experience where the inevitable ups and downs of life and our mental climate does happen, but we're far less bothered about it. And I know this sounds crazy, but I've actually been just as productive in my life when I've really not been feeling so good as I have been when I've been feeling good. And that's the beautiful thing. We're not stuck with having to be in a certain state of mind to perform well. We can perform regardless of what our mind is doing. And that was really new to me, completely different from what I've learned and understood so far. That has been completely revolutionary to my mental well-being.
That's beautiful, Rudi. Really beautiful and really clear. I love that.
Oh, one thing I wanted to mention is, if you take the physical body, right, like all of our skin is broken down and remade every 4 weeks. Our lungs and our kidneys are broken down and remade every 3 months. Our entire skeletal system is broken down and 99% remade within a year. Okay? So if this automatic or this innate system knows how to do that without our will doing anything to that, surely we would have a similar thing happening with our minds. So this is what I'm pointing to. I'm pointing to our innate immune system that's left alone works really, really well at equalising us.
Wow, what a beautiful start to this amazing series with Rudiger Kennard. And if you would like to get in touch with Rudi, you can do so via his website on www.innatewellbeing.co.uk. And if you would like to get in touch with myself, that's denise.holland@class-performance.com. Or you can look on my website at www.class-performance.com. And I'm delighted to say that all of the previous podcast shows are now up and running on the website under the new tab podcasts. So I look forward to sharing with you and being with you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.